The Evening at Fáilte Rashkadi Cúilín Media. Welcome back, everyone, to another live weekend review show here on Cúilín Media. And we've got the full cast, and we've got an incredible weekend of Gaelic Games action to run through. 21 county finals. We've had All-Ireland champions like Sarsfields eliminated from the competition. We've had huge teams dumped out like Austin Stacks. A lot to get into, lads. I'm looking forward to it. Liam, I'll come to you first. Big weekend, obviously, in the Leinster Championship. All-Ireland champions Na Fianna just about hung on. Ballyhale Shamrocks obviously reclaiming the Kilkenny Championship. So much getting shook up there as a Kilcormac Colohy man. Some sharks in the tank now, which is bidding for Leinster.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckoned before that the game happened that Ballyhale would get the job done, and with about 10-15 minutes ago, I was looking at my father saying, well, I guess we're marking TJ Reid and Owen Cody in a couple of weeks' time. But an absolutely crazy weekend of Gaelic Games. And if you're someone like me who watches all types of different sports, trying to keep up with Arsenal in the Premier League and trying to keep up with your grandmother watching snooker during the day as well and everything like that, it's a bit of a nightmare. But listen, wouldn't want it any other way. And a lot of crazy games over the weekend. Looking forward to delving into them.
Absolutely. Aaron, big weekend. Obviously, we had the Dublin Hurling final. Na Fianna shading it against Lucan Sarsfields, and the comments are flooding in already from Pádraig Lennon, from A2, from Jordan Cairns. Guys, they're setting the tone. We have a healthy number watching. If you have any opinions on any games that took place over the weekend or any personal highlights, get involved in the discussion. Let us know what your highlights from the weekend were. Pádraig Lennon here saying Pearse's and Bridget's some game. Have that feeling Pearse has left it behind them, but I think we'll beat Bridget's next Saturday. Pearse's, Bridget's, definitely the best two teams in Connacht. We're getting bantered already, lads. A2 says masterclass predictions as usual, lads. Fuck off. The club championship the hardest championship to predict I have ever seen in my life. But to be fair, I 100% agree with you here on this one, A2. He says also Lucan were robbed. Yeah. I was there. That was not a penalty. But it was given. And look, that's the rub of the green that you need as champions. And Aaron, like in a game like that where you could tell it was going to come down to the wire, sometimes you need that rub of the green. And like, let's be honest, how many dynasties, how many champions have there been that haven't got the odd decision here or there that they can count themselves lucky to get? Na Fianna can count themselves lucky that they got that penalty.
Yeah, just is one of them things that sometimes always happens with champions, where they do sort of just find the way and dig deep. And yeah, like it was the penalty decision. Yeah, 100%. It was scandalous, really. Like it was never a penalty. It was really harsh on Lucan. But it wasn't just that. Like I felt like there was a lot of soft frees that were given Na Fianna's way as well towards the end. There was one actually that they took inside the 20-meter line as well at the end when they shouldn't have. So yeah, I think Lucan can feel very aggrieved in regards to being knocked out. I think they will be kicking themselves a little bit at the end for maybe just not seeing that game out. But at the same time, yeah, like you have to obviously look at the decisions as a barometer. Like they lost the game by a point, and yeah, you know, for as good as Na Fianna are, like it definitely was an off day from them. The first half they were very poor. Their shooting was very slack, especially with the wind as well. But they dug deep and look, obviously, yeah, they got the rub of the green, they got the decisions. But they took, you know, they obviously had to score the penalty and they had to score the freeze. And look, they took their opportunities when it presented themselves to them. You know, we saw them against Cúilín a few weeks previously, having to go to extra time and sort of nearly dig that one out as well. So, yeah, the sign of champions. But I think there will be the likes of, you know, the Wexford champions and everything else. Say Martins, like teams will be looking at them and thinking, you know, we do have a chance against them. We do have a chance. They're not completely unbeatable, as maybe what some people, maybe what we would have thought a couple of weeks ago, you know?
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. Lucan definitely had them on the ropes at certain stages. Jordan Cairns here, back again. Good to have you back on, Jordan. Says hello, Jordan Cairns here from Castlebar. Stunning comeback from Ballina Stephenites against Westport. Absolutely, we will get on to that in just a moment. Pádraig Lennon has a direct question here for you, Matthew. He says, Matthew, just a quick one, no slagging or anything. Cork to bottle another final next week against the Rovers?
Compare this. Look, Cork City is a fan base that actually many people might not know this, but they actually don't welcome the whole of Cork County. So to be honest with you, I'm from West Cork. I couldn't care less, to be honest with you. Look, I'd love Cork City to win the FAI Cup, but if those fans don't allow the whole county in and support their team, you know, to hell with them. But anyway, look, anyway, onto the GA. Look, it was a good weekend. Obviously, I was at the Cork Premier Senior Football Championship final today, the Bars and Nemo. Let's talk about that, not the FAI Cup final. Obviously, brilliant win for the Bars. They got the hoodoo over them. Obviously, beating Nemo today, Brian Hayes was absolutely exceptional. Stephen Sherlock was as well as captain for Bars, and it was just a brilliant win for the Bars today, and a lot of trophy droughts or trophy list teams obviously won county championships this weekend. The likes of Lochmacrory, the likes of Madden, even here in Cork, there was a club that ended a 99 county championship year wait. So a lot of wait being over 80 years for Dingle and Kerry as well. So it's absolutely brilliant. And as you mentioned there, Seamus, like the club championship, it is unpredictable as always. And looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, absolutely. A2, it was only banter. It is the notoriously difficult competition to predict. And look, lads, who would have thought that most of the picks wouldn't even get out of the counties? They've been taken out by some big dogs as well.
Yeah.
And those are the games. I think one of the things that we would say is that for a lot of the favourites, I think, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think in some of the really, really difficult counties to get out of, notoriously, Dublin, Tyrone, Cork, Kerry, there definitely is, I feel, a sense that if you're going to catch them, you catch them early. I feel like with Roscommon, for example, Pearse's best chance of getting caught up until they play maybe Moycullen is if they get caught by Bridget's, or if they get caught by someone in Roscommon. I really think it's going to be really, really difficult. Obviously, Ballina look pretty good as well, but it is very, very difficult to say who is going to get out. And at any stage, anybody can be caught, and it's called the toughest for a reason. G.A. Falava says here, absolute scenes in Healy Park tonight. A sea of black and amber as Lochmacrory beat Trillick. Absolute. That's one of the highlights of the weekend. Lochmacrory winning their first ever Tyrone senior football title as predicted by Matthew. And Aaron, did you predict Lochmacrory as well? Was it me and Liam?
I think both me and Matthew went with it, yeah.
Yeah, fair play.
It was mainly Matthew that led with it, to be fair, and I kind of agreed with him after he put together a good point.
Did I say that I was regretting my prediction to some degree? Maybe does that buy me some goodwill? Liam Toland here, we'll give this a mention as well, lads. Big wins for Ireland, obviously winning in the Camogie and the Hurling against Scotland in the Hurling / Shinty combined, and that was, obviously a big win for Ireland there. Interestingly enough, Darren McCarthy went off injured. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Obviously, that hopefully it doesn't impact on his preparations going forward for college and county in 2026. Gavin says extremely tight game between Bridges and Pearse is being replayed next week. GA Flav says 3 of the 5 Donaghy brothers from Lochmacrory had a ball against Trillick. And I certainly did. And let's jump right into the games, lads. We're going to go in chronological order. We're going to go through Saturday's games, and then we're going to go in to Sunday's games as well. And Matthew, once again, fair play to you, getting the list all together. We're going to start off right at the beginning on Saturday's list. The Galway Senior Football Championship final. Moycullen 117, Salthill Knocknacarra 115. Moycullen win their first Galway title since 2022. And interestingly, they're in a bit of a golden era. 3 titles and 6 championship seasons. This is the golden years for Moycullen. Unbelievable stuff. Liam, I'll come to you first for this one.
Yeah, really ending heartbreak after losing the last 2 county finals to Corofin is really some going from them, to be honest with you. And holding off a comeback themselves, really, winning the football championship is absolutely unbelievable. It was an unbelievable start from them. I couldn't really believe the scoreline when I read it at halftime last night, because I was watching the Dublin Hurling final, but I was keeping up to date with the Galway final, and just seeing the score at halftime, I was like, that can't be right. And nothing against Moycullen, but I just thought Salthill, surely they put up a better fight than this, but then you'd obviously think maybe there was a wind or something like that. But yeah, no, they had an unbelievable start. Sean Kelly getting the goal after 30 seconds, really setting them up really, really nicely, leading 1-11 to 1-6 at half time. They were really on fire in the first half. And it's you got to give credit as well, though, to Peter Cook. He's recently, I think I read that he's just recently back from the US, and he managed to come off the bench and hit 4 points, 2 2-pointers, and yeah, he really was on fire for the Moycullen attack. You could really tell in this game that John Maher was missing. As captain, it really could have done with him, to be honest with you. But look, they had obviously Robert Finnerty, who finished with, I think he finished with a goal and 7, so he still had a really strong performance in him. Matthew Thompson, Cathal Sweeney led the charge for them in the second half, but Desi Keneally finished with 6 points. He had a fantastic second half, especially helping his side over the line, and Sean Kelly sealing the win in injury time. It's a fantastic victory for them. They lost the last 2 finals, like I mentioned, but to come back and still have that hunger, still have that fight, and take down a Salt Hill Knocknacarra team that have a large majority of not just like the Galway senior football forward line, but a forward line that every other team in the country would only dream of. It's a fantastic achievement for them, and I'm going to tell you something, that they're going to take some beating in the Connacht Championship. They will not be an easy team to take down. But congratulations to them. Commiserations to Salt Hill Knocknacarra. Their wait for a championship goes on.
Yeah, this was the year where Salt Hill, though, like they started to kind of come good in some ways on the promise. Like you looked at the talent that they had stacked up. But Aaron, we spoke in the run up to the final, obviously on the weekend preview show on Thursday, and we were talking about one of the questions that I put to you, because you brought up John Maher's injury, and I was saying, how much would it make a difference that going into the game you looked at this and said John Maher's out, Peter Cook's back? How much of an impact did that have on the game?
I think it made a huge impact, yeah, because I think like with John Maher, like he is one of the more experienced players. Like they have a lot of younger lads, don't they? Likes of Tom O'Callaghan and Matthew Thompson, like Daniel O'Flaherty. Like they are all young players. Do you know that way? So you probably do need a bit more experienced heads, especially in moments as well. Like especially as we were saying, like Moycullen kind of burst into a lead, really, like 111 to 1-6, and especially in tough conditions as well. Like it's such a hard lead to kind of get back going into the second half. So I think, John Maher was a huge miss. I've seen as well, they had one of their other kind of key players, not a county player, but who got stretchered off. So that was obviously a big miss as well, from a Salt Hill perspective. Moycullen, fantastic. As we were saying with Peter Cook, slotted back in, hadn't played any football for Moycullen in the championship, I think, before the semi-final when he came off the bench. And he comes off and he's just like he's never been away, and plays incredible. And then the same again in this final, comes off the bench and makes a huge impact from a Moycullen perspective. And massive win. I've seen they paid a tribute at full time as well to Don Connellan as well, who passed away. It was in charge of their 2 previous county titles as well. So that was obviously a touching tribute from their perspective. And look, they're, what's that 3 county titles now in 5 years. So look, they're one of the top dogs in Galway. There's no question about it. And I know a lot of people will look at Bridget's or Pierce's as probably, whoever comes through that as maybe the favourites, but don't sleep on Moycullen. I think they could do it on Connacht this year.
They're in a very nice position because they've won the Galway Championship, yet I still believe that whoever wins the Pierce's Bridget's game will still be put forward by many people as the favourites. Matthew, going forward, how far do you see Moycullen going?
There, I look at Moycullen's team. You have Peter Cook there, you have Desi Keneally, you obviously have Sean Kelly there, Paul Kelly. Like you do have some very good players there. Galway clubs notoriously do very well in the Connacht Championship. To be honest with you, I think it'll be between them and the winners of Bridget's and Pierce's for Connacht. I obviously don't mean any disrespect to Bandana Stephenites, but the Mayo clubs haven't done so well in the Connacht Championship over the last few years. And you get to a stage where you don't trust them that often. You look at Leitrim Gales, Shamrock Gales, Northland the Shamrocks. I don't think they'll pose much of a threat. So you have probably them 3 teams if you count Pierce's and Bridget's in there. Moycullen did win the Galway the Connacht Championship a few years ago. They played in Croke Park against Watty Grimes, again I remember, and competed very, very well against them. So I think they could actually provide a shock here or there. I haven't had time to look at the draw there, but if Moycullen and Bridget's Pierce are on separate side of the draw, I would expect them to reach the final against each other. But if they're on the same side of the draw, that could be a tasty semi-final there as well. So I think it'll be one of them 3 sides to win it. If Moycullen do win the Connacht Championship, they'll face the Ulster champions in the semi-finals, which You could face a Kilcoo there, maybe even a Loch McCrory from Tyrone, possibly even a Madden or somebody like that, Naomh Connell. So that would still be a tough game. But judging by Mike Cullen's experience in the All-Ireland over the last few years, I think they still would have a great chance of going after even an All-Ireland title. And you look at the sides that have dropped like flies, like Trillick are gone, Kilmacud Crokes, Coola, Dr. Crokes, Coolera Strandhill, all of these clubs, all of them are gone now. And Mike Cullen, over the last couple of years, would have reached All-Ireland semi-finals, and they're still in it. Like off the top of my head, like Kieran's O'Reilly's are gone as well. Like I'm looking at the All-Ireland Championship at the moment. Like Mike Cullen have reached the All-Ireland semi-final in the last 3 seasons, and are one of the clubs that have done so. They're still left in this year's championship, so you still can't write them off with the experience that they do have in the championship and the players that they have at their disposal as well, and how well Galway clubs have done over the last few years. So they definitely have a chance.
Yeah, they absolutely do. There's no question about it. This club championship has just been nuts. Like, you're reeling off all the teams that are gone there, Matthew. It's just shaping up to be as open as it was in previous seasons. GA Falava coming in again saying, tell me 1 year ago that Loch McCrory would be playing Kilcoo in an Ulster Senior Football Championship game. I would have laughed you up and down. Absolutely crazy. And then Gavin saying, much compared Monaghan to Sunderland earlier in the year in the way that they might struggle to get up, but they did this year, ironically. And Sunderland are flying, but poor old Salt Hill not as lucky. G.A. Falava disagreeing, Aaron, with yourself here, saying 2 weeks ago, crazy to say Errigal and Trillick was the bigger semi-final. Carrickmore, Loch McCrory, Parish Derby went to the replay. I think just not bigger in terms of this, but I would have agreed with what you said, to be honest, Aaron, because just based off the fact that Errigal and Trillick were the last 2 champions, that's what I would have looked at initially a few weeks ago. But obviously, in hindsight, Loch McCrory, are the coming champions there, but having seen the Tyrone Championship over the last 20 years, I wouldn't be putting any money on them to go back to back. And that's not, but I've learned my lesson this year with Errigal Kieran. Nobody seems to go back to back in Tyrone at all. Twice the game in Pomeroy and Sunday on Friday. No, for next time. Gavin says, I wouldn't sleep on Leitrim Gales either. The semi-final, the Fermanagh brothers playing really well. That's one of the under-the-radar transfers going on right now. Galway and Sligo clubs play each other, then Leitrim Gales in the semi. The other is Ballina against the London club, and the Roscommon winners then in the semi-final. So Roscommon and Galway clubs lined up on other sides of the draw. So that means that we could have Moy Cullen versus Pearce's or Bridget's at the final, which I think is the most likely outcome out of that. I think that's, I don't think any of you lads would disagree. But if there's one club to upset it, it is Ballina Stephenites. And that is who we're going to move on to next. But just first of all, massive congratulations to Moy Cullen, and a lovely touch there at the end to, dedicate the win to Canellan. And obviously wish them the best of luck going forward in the championship. One of their stiffest rivals could be Ballina Stephenites. Ballina beating Westport in the Mayo Senior Football Championship final after a replay, after a tremendous comeback. Aaron, they really, really did this one the hard way.
Yeah, it was incredible, really. To be 10 points down with 10 minutes to go, you could never have imagined that Ballina would come back in the way that they did to score 2-6 and, completely flip the game around. But it probably is maybe a reflection of where Gaelic football is at right now, especially with these new rules. A game can switch so quickly with 2-pointers. It can change the momentum so quickly. And it's very much what happened. Evan Regan, I think, got one of the goals. He kicked a couple of 2-pointers as well. And they just turned the tide completely, Ballina Stephenites. And Westport went from absolutely cruising, really, and playing the game of their lives to completely falling apart. Obviously I haven't seen the game, I didn't get to see it, so I'll be very curious to see where it went wrong, and I would be curious to know. I know Jordan, who often comments, is a big Mayo supporter, so I don't know if he was watching the game or anything like that. Maybe he could let us know kind of where it went wrong for Westport, because to be 10 points up with 10 minutes to go, devastating stuff, obviously, from a Westport perspective. But look, there's no getting away from it. Ballina are the top dogs in Mayo. 3 finals in a row now that they've won. I know obviously they drew the kind of the opening game, but 3 championships in a row that they've won. So huge for them. And the big question is now is they have good players there, as we've said before, and Pádraig O'Hara and a few others, Conal Dawson and, Evan Regan, these lads, like, I think it's about time now that we've seen a Mayo club push on for Connacht. They've had a couple of embarrassing results over the last couple of years, Mayo club, so like they really need to kind of kick on now and push, because I think they have the capabilities definitely to do it. Whether they actually go and win it, I'm not sure, but look, I think they need to kind of push on. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. Like, there's no question about it. They have the talent to do it. But no question about it. This one will be sweet because of the position that they're in. 10 points down with 10 minutes to go. Like, this is one of the sweet ones. This is one of the ones where you're in the bar having a few pints after thinking, how on earth did we manage to pull that one out of the bag? And equally, it will be a very, very tough one for Westport to lose because how did they throw it away? But now Ballina are into the Connacht Championship. They will go under the radar because a lot of people will be fancying Moy Cullen or whoever comes out of the Pearses Bridget's game to go on and win Connacht. But Liam, how far can this Ballina side go?
Well, when you look at the draw, like was mentioned there, they're taking on North London Shamrocks in the quarterfinals, and no disrespect to them, North London forever. But I don't see them losing to them, especially the game seems to be at home as well. And then you go forward to the semi-finals. I mean, look, Pearses or Bridges away from home in a semi-final is extremely, extremely tough. But like I agree completely with what Aaron said there. If Mayo clubs are going to be starting taken seriously in Connacht, they're going to have to win a big game like this, and maybe Ballina Stephenites can do that. I mean, I cannot believe Westport have thrown this one away. Like, how do you be 114 to 7 points up with 10 minutes to go and lose the game by a point? It's absolutely remarkable. But look, if there is a team,
could you give a mention as well? I was just going to say, could you please give a mention to the hero for Ballina, Evan Regan, going down the home stretch? Talk about clutch. How good was Evan Regan going down the home stretch?
Unbelievable. He scored 1-4 in the final 15 minutes. And the 2-pointer he got, I've seen it online, and the winning score 5 minutes into injury time, those back-to-back scores. I mean, like you mentioned, talk about clutch, especially the one off the left. That was the 2-pointer. That is, like, I don't know how he does that. And the weather didn't look great yesterday either. To be doing that this time of the year with a real rock hard, solid ball is absolutely unbelievable. But it's an incredible way to draw the game back level. It's an incredible way to win the game in the end. He scored 1-8 overall in the end. And yeah, really, if there ever was a player that deserved to go up the steps and bring that cup home, it was absolutely him. He was unbelievable in that final 15 minutes and just over the course of the game as well. But look, they're going to have to start taking the Connacht Championship a bit more seriously. It's no different to any other clubs, county champions in the country. You get a certain amount of ones that, look, fair enough, you win your county title and that's the be all. In a way, that is the be all and end all. At the end of the day, you want to win your county title, but there's a bit of pride in going into your provincial championship, and there's a bit of pride in representing your county. And for me, I think if they want to be starting taken seriously a lot more, look, take care of North London Shamrocks, realistically take care of them, and then go forward and absolutely take the game to Pearses or Bridget's, no matter who it is, and just see what happens. Because at the end of the day, having your club teams impress in their provincial championships, for me, it can only make your county team better in the future as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we were talking, Matthew, how many times have we had the discussion before Cúilín Media existed back in the day? But how many times did we have the conversation about Mayo? And one of the main things that was holding them back was their lack of a left-footed kicker coming in off the arc, the way that Clifford is for Mayo, for Kerry. What an alternate timeline that would be. But the way that, they didn't have the same left-footed kickers that other counties have. Evan Regan's form, could he be the answer?
Absolutely. The thing is about Evan Regan, I remember in a league game in the past, actually, I think it might have been against Dublin, he got a horrendous injury, and that knocked him back for 6 in intercounty level, literally. He didn't play intercounty much for Mayo after that. He still continued very well for Ballina Stephenites in the club championship. He's been their main player, he's been their captain, their leader, their inspiration, obviously, as Ian mentioned, their clutch player. So I can't see any reason why he won't get called back into the Mayo panel. I still think he's pretty young as well. I don't think he's even 30 yet. I might be wrong on that now, but I think he's still pretty young, maybe. So yeah, he'd be he'd be a decent kind of option for Mayo. And as you mentioned there, like not just the left-footed kicker kind of thing, but the two-pointed effort kind of thing as well. What was Mayo crying out for in the final group game against Donegal? In that game, blown in Dotterhoy Park, two-pointed kickers. They kicked a few in the Connacht final, but I think even looking at averages in terms of two-pointed scores per county, Mayo had by far the lowest out of any county. I think themselves and Dublin had the lowest, and those are the two counties that definitely need two-pointed kickers. And it's so frustrating from a Mayo point of view. You have the county champions there at Ballinasloe, Stephen. It's not just the county champions this year, but have won it over the last few years. I think it's 3 in a row now, maybe even 4. And you have a guy that has done it year in, year out, and he still hasn't been picked for Mayo. I know he had his injury setbacks, but surely now he's over that now. You would imagine his fitness will start to build up as time has gone on as well, as he's become more of a main player for Ballinasloe Steve Knights as well. You would imagine he has to get back in the Mayo panel. If he doesn't get back in the Mayo panel next year, if lads like Evan Regan, Frank Urban, these guys are not given chances next season, you'd have to question where are Mayo going, honestly. I know there's a new management in next year with Andy Moore, but what Andy needs to do next year, say to Evan Regan, right, you're going to start first 2 rounds of the league. You're going to start. And let's see where it goes in the first 3 rounds. Okay, the league might be all and end all for Andy Moore's mind in terms of staying up at Division 1. But when you look at it, actually, Mayo went down in 2020 and then beat Dublin in 2021 and got a few good years after that under James Horan, got a few good results as well. So maybe going down wouldn't be such a bad thing for Mayo. I'm not saying it go down on purpose, but I'm saying try out a few lads in the league, see what they're made of. You can't go with try to test it each and every year and expect a different outcome. Like, it's going to be the same outcome if Mayo have these players from last season. So I'm saying from a Mayo point of view, they need these players like the Evan Regans and the likes of Frank Irwins, for example. Frank Irwin was absolutely outstanding for Mayo during the league. And then, for some reason, he doesn't start the championship. So something needs to be done with Mayo. Okay, keep Ryan O'Donoghue in the team. He scores the vast majority of the scores. But you need Regan, you need Frank Irwin, you need these type of players to step it on now for Mayo, to improve them as a county as well. Because if they don't bring them on, you have the likes of Galway there, maybe even Roscommon with new management next season. They could bypass Mayo very, very quickly in Connacht. So I think it's a make or break kind of league campaign for Andy Moore, not in terms of results, but in terms of blooding new players. And blood the likes of Evan Regan for a start.
I definitely think with Andy Moore, that's a project out of Mayo, and there's no question about it that in the last 2 years they've still had the good performance in them, the odd one where they get a surprise victory or a surprise draw, but I haven't thought of them as being front runners for the All Ireland potentially as I have in previous years. Like up until 2022, I would have always gone in saying, I think the Mayo are right there, but in the last 2 years, I haven't thought that, that they've been in the front running conversation the way that they would have thought before that. So sometimes I agree with you, Matthew. Sometimes you need to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward. And Mayo need to maybe risk that they're going to lose a few games in order to then put together a winning formula. And the players that they have coming through, the likes of Kobe McDonald and stuff they need to get those lads into the team and build for the future. And with a coach like Andy Moore, who I think will be around for a while, they have a lot that they can go with there. So we have a few comments in here very relevant to the Mayo Championship. GF Lava says Ballina to win Connacht, Ballyboden to win Leinster, Dingle to win Munster and Kilcoo to win Ulster. Jordan, who was at the Mayo final, says Lee Keegan a big loss. Porrigo Hora was targeted. I was at the game. Westport lost. Owen McLaughlin was a very big turning point. And am I not mistaken, lads? I've seen Fionn McDonough's name down with Mike Cullen. Is that the Fionn McDonough that plays for Mayo? Or it played for Mayo? Because maybe a different one. Okay. Yeah, that could have been a huge, huge loss as well. Gavin says here, the Sligo final didn't really seem as exciting as Mayo or Roscommon, only 2 points each in it at half time. I think Andy will experiment more than McStay did, and Mayo have better underage than Galway at under 18 and 20, so there's no reason why players shouldn't be tried out. Well, we are going to move on. Massive congratulations to Ballinado. They've quietly put together 3 in a row there in Mayo, and now it's about catapulting that onto further success. And Evan Regan, for sure, if I was looking at the Mayo Club Championship, I think their forward line, their full forward line anyway, going into the league has to be Regan, Irwin, Ryan O'Donoghue. That's my full forward line. I love James Carr, but I'd maybe be putting him in the half forward line. And then Kobe McDonald will be getting him in as quick as possible. Switching then from football to hurling. Go for it.
Just the thing, Seamus, on Kobe McDonald, would it be much more beneficial to have him at underage? He's still only 18 or 19 years of age. You don't want to rush him in too quickly. He's an excellent player, but like you don't want to. I know David Clifford's an exception, but many other players, you keep him at underage.
True. I think, the examples that I'm thinking about of getting him in is, or you'll lose him, like Dublin, Kieran Archer was shooting the lights out at the under-20s level, and then we kind of left him and didn't take him for a couple more years, and then it's just gone off the grid. I mean, we haven't really got him back since. It's interesting you mentioned as well, Matthew, about the 2-pointers. This is a complete side point, by the way, but when you mentioned about us not kicking the 2-pointers, lads, imagine the 2-pointers that Dublin from 2015 to 2019 would have been kicking with the likes of Paul Flynn, Dermot Connolly, Paul Mannion, Dean Rock. Like, it would have been art in front of our eyes. Dean Rock is still kicking 2-pointers. He kicked 2 for Ballymun to knock out my club, Whitehall, and the guy was like, get this lad back on the freeze, will you? He's absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, very good point. I think there's an argument to say that he should stick playing the under-20, but I definitely think at the very least get him in training with the seniors, get him in experience and what it's like, get him in, which I'm sure that they will do. But with AFL kind of sniffing around, you want to make Kobe feel like you've got a place in the Mayo senior team so that he has to at least take that into consideration, because I think a lot of players go because they don't feel like maybe they have enough keeping them here. But because again, if they were to lose Kobe after losing Oisin Mullen, and the impact that he would have had in Pierce Hanley as well, even to go more retro, like Mayo have a history now of losing top class players to Australia, so they will want to keep Kobe McDonald as much as best they can. Jordan says Mayo will win Sam Maguire under Andy Moran in a second or third year, win Connacht and then push for Sam Maguire. A lot of young lads to be brought in and players for 2026 being brought back. Gavin says, Kobe didn't play under 20 this year for Mayo, so I'd say he will play for the under 20s next year. I mean, he'll be a player to keep an eye on in that championship, no doubt about it. Switching then from football to hurling briefly, and this is sticking with the Saturday. Nafina 120, Lucan Sarsfield's 22 points. Nafina make it 3 in a row in Dublin, edging out Lucan in an absolute battle at Parnell Park. Aaron, they were pushed all the way for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel so sorry for Lucan Sarsfields in more ways than one. Like they got absolutely everything perfect. They brought so much scoring power from the likes of Paul and Chris Crummy. John Bellew was outstanding as well. They absolutely kicking themselves that they didn't get over the line in the end. And Ben Coffey was outstanding as well, 10 points from him. What was it, 8 points to 4 at halftime? You were thinking, they're actually kind of going all right here because they had the wind in the second half. Albeit it wasn't a huge strong wind, but it was a bit more of an advantage really. And Nafina, they just weren't at their best. They were just probably maybe 10-15% off, a couple of wides, a couple of missed chances, misplaced balls, that kind of thing. And Lucan just grew and grew into the game. And I think the longer the game went on, the more that they felt that, they had the opportunity and they had the chance to, go and cause the shock. And they were getting so many scores across the board from the likes of Colin Walsh, Cathal Kennedy, Donald Flannery, all getting on the score sheet as well. But Nafina found the way, and the penalty, I know we're obviously going to go into it in more detail. As I said at the start, I think it was very, very harsh on Lucan, in fairness. It was very, very harsh, and there was obviously the free at the end that looked like it was inside the 20-meter line, and they found the way. They probably got a few, a bit of the rub of the green. A few decisions went their way. Look, I did see some people online say, it was rigged and all this crack, and and big club Nafina against Lucan, who've never won it, and everything else. I don't think
they're a big club too. Lucan are a big club too.
Lucan are a big club too as well. It is, you know what I mean? Like they've got
this isn't like plucky Lucan going up against the giants of Navina. Like Navina are a big club, but Lucan are too. At the game, I have to say, like I was there standing right on the sideline, and my first reaction was that it wasn't a penalty. That was my first reaction in the moment. Now, again, I've looked at the replays. I think it's very harsh, but I think when you're champions, sometimes you need to get that rub of the green. And sometimes you get those 50-50 decisions where I'm not stunned it was given, but if I'm to tick a box and say whether I think if it was a penalty or not a penalty, I'd probably say slightly wasn't a penalty. I think he got the ball, but he definitely went in hard on Donald Burke, and that's why it was given as a penalty. The penalty decision is going to be the most controversial decision from this game, but it really felt, being there at the game, it felt like Nafina just had that bit of championship experience that by hook or by crook, they were going to win this final. If they had to crawl over the line, they were going to do it. The penalty decision was controversial, but the bottom line is they found a way to win. And once they went on that last attack, which led to Sean Curry's point, I just had no doubt that they were going to get a shot away. And if it fell to the right person, they were going to get it. And they've so much talent in that forward line that in that last play, Lucan had so many players that they had to watch, so many players that they had to close down. Don't let it get to Donald Burke, Colin Curry. And then it found its way to Sean Curry and he whacked it up and over the bar. No question about it. Their championship mettle shone through in this one. They're 3-in-a-row champions for a reason. You'd be a brave man to bet against them trying to repeat the success that they had last year. Liam, as someone who is a Kilcormac man who may or may not face Nafina now in Leinster Championship should everything fall in that way, what did you make of them and their chances going forward?
I think like every other team, they're definitely beatable. There's no question about that. And look, you got to give them credit. You know, they were on the way down the last couple of minutes. Lucan Sarsfields, I thought they had them towards the end, to be honest with you. Like you mentioned there, Ben Coffey, Charlie Keher were absolutely outstanding. The Crummies, you know, you got to feel for them, you know, falling to their knees at the end. It was absolute heartbreak for them. Like I thought it was an excellent final, to be fair. I thought the quality in it was absolutely fantastic. Some of the scores that were taken from long range were unbelievable. And yet, look, I've been a big admirer of Sean Curry for the last while. You know, kind of ever since I saw him in the flesh last year against us in the Leinster final, I've been very, very impressed with him ever since. And I thought he had an unbelievable season with Dublin. And look, if it's going to fall to any man, even more so for me than Donald Burke or Colin Curry or even AJ Murphy, who I rate highly as well, it fell to Sean Curry, who was the right man in the right place at the right time, especially with the way he strikes the ball, where he just like strikes it all the way up high into the air. You know, it absolutely suited him down to the ground. But yeah, look, without trying to sound sarcastic or anything, how was that a penalty? Like, there's just no way that was a penalty for me. It was, he won the ball. It was it Ronan Smith that was judged to have fouled him?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm sorry, he won the ball fair and square. Like there was a foul outside the 21, which for me was even harsh itself. But then he won the ball. I don't see how that is a penalty. And look, like you said, it's the rub of the green that you do need in these types of games. And look, the referee, look, I know he's trying his best and he's not going to get every single decision right in a game, but I felt he was a small bit harsh on Lucan Sarsfields at times. I felt Nafina got a few decisions that were a bit, they weren't the best decisions in my opinion, especially that one. I think that one's it will be a controversial one. For me, he wins the ball cleanly. I don't think it's a penalty at all. And ultimately now, Lucan Sarsfields will be looking back in this now, thinking that it's cost him a first title, unfortunately. But yeah, look, credit to Nafina, 3 in a row. It's an unbelievable achievement. And in terms of going forward in Leinster, look, they'll have it tough. They'll absolutely have it tough. They have to go down to St. Martin's, who we'll mention later on. They have to go down to St. Martin's in Wexford, which will not be easy. And then you're facing the winners, potentially, if you get over that, of Mountain Leinster Rangers or Naas, which again will not be a simple task. And then you're potentially looking at either at Ballyhale Shamrocks or a Kilcormac Cloughie or one of the Laois or Westmeath champions in a Leinster final. So they'll have it tough again to defend it. But are they capable of it? Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Like, but the Leinster Championship, just when you're reeling it off there, it's going to be something else, man. And Ballyhale Shamrocks, unfortunately for Nafina, unfortunately for everybody else in the Leinster Championship, Ballyhale are wide awake. Like the way that they put O'Loughlin Gales away in the Kilkenny final, they are wide awake. And Aaron, I'd say you feel pretty confident about that Ballyhale All-Ireland prediction right in this moment. We are going to speed up a little bit because I'm seeing it as 40 minutes on the clock, and we have a lot to get through, boys. So I'm going to start dishing out responsibilities to lead the discussion for county finals. And then if anyone wants to add to that discussion, we will obviously, take every final as it comes. But for games that aren't the finals, we will just be moving swiftly and giving them a shout out, though, no doubt, to try and get the episode done inside the hour and a half. So next one up, Fermanagh Senior Football Championship final replay. Obviously a replay was required here, but Gales Bleak have made it back-to-back titles in Fermanagh, beating Derry Harps by a goal and 12 to a goal and 9. Matthew, I'll come to you for this one. It required a replay, but Gales have quietly now put 2 titles back-to-back in Fermanagh.
Yeah, brilliant win for Gales Bleak, considering I thought in the original game they kind of lost their chance, being open man for most of the game and not putting Derry Harps away. But they did in this game, and they were 194 points up. Ulton Kellam was brilliant. He got a 2-pointer right at the stroke at half time to put them in a commanding position. And it seemed like they had the win to score below on that there. They were 194 points up. Derry made a good comeback in the second half, to be fair, led by the likes of Gary McKenna, Lee Jones getting a goal as well to make it interesting. Rory Smith getting a brilliant 2-pointer as well. But then Gales got the second win. They got over the line after that, and it was a brilliant win in fairness. And they got over the line. Aegon Kellam getting the late point to seal the game. Ulton Kellam got 1-3 in this game, and she was absolutely brilliant for Gales Bleak, and he will definitely be a main man in their quarter-final against Kings Court Stars in the Ulster Championship. But then you'd imagine if they beat Kings Court Stars, they'll face Kilcoo or Loch Macquarie in the Ulster semi-final. So you'd imagine that will bring it into their championship there. But against Kings Court, I know Kings Court have the likes of Jordan Morris, the beat star and all that, but they wouldn't go into that game fearing them at all. The Cavan champions haven't done so well in the Ulster Championship over the last few years. So beating a side like Derry Harps, I think Gales will definitely fancy their chance. So congratulations to all involved there.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, I'd say Declan Bonner was on the blower to Ulton Kellam as soon as that game was over. Get yourself down to training with Fermanagh again, because his return could be absolutely vital. Looking then at the rest of the games, but the last final that took place on the Saturday in football was the Laois Senior Football Championship final replay. Liam, I'll come to you for this one. Port Arlington won 7, Courtwood 7 points. A real battle of a game, but Port Arlington, from what I'm gathering, because I haven't got the chance to watch it yet, but reading reports and stuff like that, the sense is again, similar to Nafina, Lucan, is Port Arlington's just their championship mettle experience of getting over the line in Laois finals came to the fore.
Yeah, I think first of all, it definitely wasn't as good of a game as last week's one, the game 2 weeks ago. It was very much winter football. Not a lot of big scoring or anything like that. And you got to feel for Courtwood, because after 5 minutes they were 4 points to no score up, and they scored more in the first 5 minutes than they did in the remainder of the game, which is absolutely mental, to be honest with you. But yeah, look, you got to give it to Port Arlington. It was only 4-4 at half time. It was a very, very hard watch, I'm not going to lie to you. But then look, they got the goal. They got the goal in the second half through a Colin Murphy penalty. And look, at this time of the year in football, well, just at the time of the year in general, a goal is absolutely crucial to your side. And look, Courtwood, unfortunately for them, they just couldn't crawl it back enough in time. And yeah, Port Arlington, they managed to get over the line. They're champions once again, and fair play to them, really. Pat Rowe knows how to get his side over the line. They haven't been spectacular in this championship season, but they're champions, so they won't give one solitary crap about it, to be honest with you. And they'll have O'Loughlin's to take on next week in the Carlow Championship, and I believe that game's on TV as well, so it'll be something to look forward to. It's a quick turnaround, and it's a bit unfortunate that it is like that for them. But look, they're a team that will absolutely be fancying their chances in the Leinster Championship. There's no question about it. They definitely let it slip from their grasp a small bit last year, so they definitely have a bit of revenge on their mind for this year. But a tough away trip for them to start off. But yeah, congratulations to them, commiserations to Courtwood. But I've no doubt they'll be back again next year. They're a very, very solid, proud little club in Laois.
Absolutely. Well, they will be back. Port Arlington, though, march on the rest of the games that took place on Saturday, running through the results and giving a shout out to all involved. Limerick Senior Football Championship quarter-final saw Father Casey's beat St. Kieran's 14 points to 11. Limerick's relegation semi-final saw Kildemo beat Napeershig 3-16 to 112, and Ula beat Ballylanders by 2-8 to 110. The Meath Senior Hurling Championship final replay saw Ratoath run away with a 2-22 to Kiltales 4-10. In the Leinster Intermediate Hurling Championship Preliminary Quarter-Final, Nave Breach of Carlow beat Delvin of Westmeath 112-11. Ulster Junior Hurling Championship Preliminary Quarter-Final saw Trua Gales of Monaghan beat Omagh St. Enda's of Tyrone 211 points. The Munster Senior LGFA semi-final saw Comer Rangers of Waterford beat Kilmihill of Clare 215-2-2. Aaron, your prediction going very strong there. The Intermediate LGFA semi-final in Munster saw Clune Mackin of Kerry beat Liz Canner of Clare by 112-16. Leinster's Intermediate LGFA semi-final saw Ballina of Kildare beat Kilo of Longford by a point, 9 points to 1-5. St. Feckin's of Louth beat Screen of Meath 11 points to 7. Munster Junior LGFA semi-finals, my favourite name, Team Donnies, they're out of the championship on penalties. They lost to Cromain 6-5 on 25-metre kicks. St. Patrick's of Tipperary then beat St. Pat's of Waterford 3-12-3-11. The Leinster Junior LGFA semi-final saw St. Columkills of Meath beat Killeshin of Laois by 5-11 to 7 points. The Leinster Junior LGFA quarter-final saw Muckalee of Kilkenny beat St. Moctas of Louth 111 to 10 points. Connacht's Junior LGFA semi-final saw Northern Hearts of Roscommon beat Swinford of Mayo by 4-14 to 5-10, and an absolute cracker there by the looks of things, absolute goal fest. Connacht's Junior LGFA quarter-final saw Menlock Skahana of Galway beat Curry of Sligo 10 points to 5, while the Ulster Junior LGFA quarter-finals on the Saturday, Killeven of Monaghan beat St. Columba of Donegal 3-5 to 110. Cavan Gales beat T Connacht by 3-8 to 1-8. Claudy of Derry beat Lisbon of Armagh by 2-5 to 9 points. And that takes us in nicely to Sunday's game. And I'm going to come first to you, Aaron, here on this one. The Kerry Senior Football Championship Final. History was made in the Kerry County Championship. Dingle end a 77-year wait to claim this championship. Paul Gainey absolutely leading from the front. Unbelievable with 2-2, but an incredible day for Dingle.
Yeah, absolutely. An extraordinary day, really. And considering as well, like it was looking, you know, when you were watching the first half, you're thinking Austin Stacks, like what a team, you know, with some of the players that they have, like Armin Heinrich scored an unbelievable 2-pointer. Joe O'Connor got one as well. Ben Murphy looked outstanding. And you were thinking, like, you were watching Austin Stacks and you were nearly thinking, like, this is a team, if they come through this, could genuinely be all-Ireland contenders. You know, and look, and I think the same obviously does apply to Dingle as well. You know, like, I don't think you can kind of take that away from them. And yeah, it felt like Stacks for the majority had the game kind of under control. They obviously get themselves a huge kind of penalty from Cian Purcell, and that kind of put Stacks kind of on their way a little bit, but no, fair play to Dingle, an incredible kind of turnaround. Paul Gainey, I've mentioned on previous shows, I think he's one of the most underrated Kerry footballers of all time in terms of when you think of the Kerry legends and the Kerry greats, and I know David Clifford will be, you know, he's in the mix, he's there already, but if you look at former players, you know, you have your Kieran Donaghys and, you know, your Maurice Brosnans and Paul Galvins and all these kind of legends of Kerry football, Colm Cooper and everything else. And Paul Gainey probably doesn't get put in that kind of bracket, you know, to a certain extent. You know, but I think he is, you know, he 2-2 in the final, dragged his team over the line. And yeah, an extraordinary achievement from a Dingle perspective. First title in, you know, since 1948. And yeah, you know, I'll be interested to get your lads' opinions, but I think they probably are the favourites for Munster. Maybe Matthew might disagree with the Bars, but I think Dingle are going very strong. And let's not forget as well, this is a team that came very close to winning you know, the Kerry County Championship a couple of years ago. They've obviously competed in Munster through winning the other championship in Kerry. So they are an experienced outfit, and yeah, I think they're going to be one of the dark horses potentially for an All Ireland as well.
Take it away, Matthew.
Yeah, I before I go now, lads, because obviously I do have to leave this stream, but I will disagree with Aaron. The Bars for Munster. The Bars got a good win today over Nemo. It's just about getting over that mental block. But for Dingle, look, it was a fantastic achievement, and considering they were out behind for most of the game, Austin Stacks are a very good side, as I've mentioned in previous weeks. But Dingle, fair play to them. First county championship in a very, very long time for them. And I'd agree with Aaron. Paul Gainey, underrated player. Dylan Gainey as well, absolutely superb. The two Thomas Sullivans, Tom Normal and Tom Leo, absolutely brilliant players. And if you have Mark O'Connor in your team, you definitely have a chance. for Munster. But yeah, brilliant win for Dingle to get over Stacks, who were intermediate last year. So to play as well as they did and to get to the Kerry final, it's a fantastic achievement for them. Playing without the likes of Dylan Casey this year because he was travelling for most of the season. So look, brilliant achievement for Dingle to get over the line. Stacks had a brilliant season, but it wasn't to beat for them. But brilliant win for Dingle. But one thing I will say before leaving you lads, the bars for Munster.
Well put. Unfortunately,
What about Newcastle West? Come on now.
Who knows? Yeah, unfortunately, Matthew, you won't be with us. St. Finbarrs against Nemo. That's a game that we're coming to in a few. Yeah, but we'll try to do you proud with that prediction there. Yeah, we'll bring up some comments here. Adon says Dingle hadn't won in 77 years. Liam Sheehy saying Paul proving he is still the number one Gainey. Still think the Bars will beat them. On a side note, Ben Murphy, big loss for Kerry football. He is absolutely a big loss for Kerry football. Matthew, if you have 90 seconds, could we get your opinion on the Cork final? You were there. Obviously, St. Finbarrs coming out on top against Nemo, 114 to 113. The video that you took, obviously, at the game, captured the drama there, going down the final few moments, just being in the stands. What was it like?
Yeah, it was a good game, right? St. Finbarrs just got over the line. Cúilín Murray got the last minute point to win it for the Bars, and Nemo nearly won at the end. It was just a brilliant game. Obviously, brilliant football on show in the first half in particular. The second half, I think both sides kind of got nervous, but the Bars definitely got over the line in the end. And I said it during the week, it was just a kind of a mental block for St. Finbarrs. And they got over the line against their city rivals. It was a fantastic win for them. And they'll go into Munster now very, very confident, I think. I think it was just about getting over Cork for the Bars. A few years ago, obviously, they beat Stacks in that game in Thurles. They took Kilcoot extra time, so they are a seasoned outfit. And I think I read the Irish Examiner there. The new rules actually suit St. Finbarrs. Stephen Sherlock got a 2-pointer from outside the 45 from a free, which was absolutely remarkable. Brian Hayes got a 2-pointer as well as scoring a crucial goal early stage in the second half as well. And they beat Nemo despite Nemo making a great comeback. Conor Harkin scoring his brilliant 2-pointer to level it. And obviously Cúilín Murray coming off the bench to get that score. And when you have that ilk player to come onto the pitch, it is brilliant for St. Finbarrs to move into Munster. But look, I think the Bars and Munster look at the draw. I think they probably will meet each other in the Munster final. At this stage, are probably aged to the Bars at this present moment in time, but Dingle are a very good side. Should be a very good Munster championship in the next few weeks, but a fantastic win for St. Finbarrs, especially to get over their rivals like that as well. For Nemo, it's their third final loss in a row, which is very, very unusual. I don't think that's ever happened. So, look, Nemo, that'll hurt for them, no doubt about it. But glory to the Bars, fair play to them, and congratulations to everybody involved there. Great for the likes of Stephen Sherlock and Ian Maguire, who have given so much to Cork football over the years, and they will have a Munster campaign now. Absolutely.
So well put, Matthew, and thank you for jumping on for the 53 minutes with us, even though you were pressed for time. Enjoy your evening, man. We'll crack on with the pod. So the next game we're going to jump onto here, our good pal Peter here in the comments. He's jumped into the live comments here. Peter says, hey lads, Lucan were robbed. Dick Turpin strikes again. At least he wore a mask though, Peter. Was at the Kilkenny final. O'Loughlin's fell badly away in the second half. But Liam, you'll be delighted to hear this. A take from Peter. He says, Tinkle Cormac can take Shamrocks. Very, very interesting here.
Nice.
So he's taking us on nicely to the Kilkenny Senior Hurling Championship final. Ballyhale Shamrocks 118, O'Loughlin Gales 12 points. Ballyhale send out a real statement to everybody in the country, beating O'Loughlin Gales the way that they did, beating the team that they had fallen to in previous years, beating them as comfortably as they did. I mean, you'd be a brave man to go against Ballyhale Shamrocks now, because they're like that type of team that the further they go along, and now that they're at this stage, it's like they're a shark. And once they smell blood, once they smell the potential All-Ireland Club Championship, you'd be a brave man to go against them. But was it just that O'Loughlin Gales were no match for them?
All I'm saying is bring it on. Don't care. Bring it on, because I would love nothing more than to knock them out after them beating us in 2014. But look, that's a story for another day. But no, look, watching this game closely, because we were going to have to play the winners of this in a couple of weeks' time. I said it I was watching our seniors training on Friday night, and I said it to people around me. I said Ballyhale will win this game. I just have a sneaky feeling they will. And my God, they were. First half, it was very, very even, 8 points each. If anything, I thought maybe O'Loughlin's maybe were slightly better in the first half. They had a bit of a better opening to the game. But once Ballyhale Shamrocks got a hold of them, my God, they never let go. They were absolutely unbelievable in that second half. Like Ballyhale had a lot of poor shooting in the first half. I think they had 8 wides in the opening 20-25 minutes, which is insane considering the forward line that they have. Like Owen Cody was really struggling for shooting in the first half. But once they came out in the second half, the goal, I mean, look, it was a real scrappy goal that Owen Cody got because it was just really bad defending, which you wouldn't associate with O'Loughlin Gales considering the backs that they have, which to be fair to them, Mikey Butler got one fantastic point in the first half. Jordan Malloy got the opening score of the game, and he's a player that I rate very, very highly. Obviously, you have Paddy Deegan and Hugh Lawler in there as well. But yeah, look, when Owen Cody got that goal, Ballyhale started to really, really kick on from there. And I mean, I'm not being funny. When you're giving TJ Reid and Richie Reid all the time in the world to shoot and all the space in the world to take shots from like 60 yards out, you're just asking for trouble. You're actually being asked to be bet. So look, that's one thing we're gonna have to be wary of the next day. Look, whoever takes up TJ Reid for us the next day, I don't know. That's up to Declan Laffin and the lads to decide on. But if there's one thing we cannot do, you cannot let any one of those players, your TJ Reid, your Richie Reid, your Mullins, your own Cody's, to have free shots, because they will punish you 9 times out of 10. And yeah, look, they were 114 to 9 points up, and then there was a late red card for Conor Kelly. Maybe Ballyhale probably a bit fortunate not to get a red card themselves. There was a few scraps here and there. There was one hit on Paddy Deegan, which he had to be held back by one of his selectors to stop going after your man that hit him. But yeah, look, really, but in their forward line, it's where kind of O'Loughlin's have maybe struggled over the past couple of years. They don't have bad forwards, but they don't have enough, maybe as much quality as Ballyhale does. Like, I mean, you had Mark Bergen that, is generally a good forward, but he was kind of quiet enough today. Fiona Maxey started well, but then kind of petered out of the game a small bit. But yeah, Ballyhale reaffirmed themselves as the Kings of Kilkenny. It's their 21st title, and yeah, they're the Kings of Kilkenny again. And look, they are going to take some beating, and I'm under no illusions. We're in for an absolute battle against them in a couple of weeks' time. But it's one that I absolutely welcome. I want to play the best. If you want to beat the best, then you got to go and beat them. And it's going to be down in Kilkenny. It's not going to be simple. But as I said, and it couldn't come back to bite me in the arse, and I could look silly in a few weeks' time, and I could be made a meme or whatever. But as I say, when it comes to my club, I just say, bring it on.
Yeah, well put. Peter here says TJ's 12th county medal. I mean, that is an absolutely unbelievable record.
I'll just say as well, the media, you just know, over the next couple of weeks are just going to eat up the fact that it's TJ Reid against Adam Screening.
Oh, absolutely. But why wouldn't you? I mean, you're talking about a narrative. I mean, the old guard versus the new guard. Who doesn't like a matchup like that? Paddy Mullen was very, very lucky to stay on the field. Peter says here, O'Loughlin's half-forward line were very poor. I was shocked because of how good O'Loughlin Gales' defence usually is, how much space they were allowing the Ballyhale forward line. I was thinking, do you know what? Like, if Ballyhale get through this, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a scrap. TJ is going to get every free that he gets. And I just didn't expect it to be as easy as it was. And Pádraig coming back in here with football, saying only team I fear from Pierce's perspective is if we win Connacht and if the Bars play us. Interesting. Pádraig saying the only team fears. So you don't fear a Kilcoo or Ballyhale? Very, very interesting. But anyway, jumping back into the games, Ballyhale, obviously Kilkenny champions again. Massive congratulations to them. And you'd be a brave man to go against them now that they're at this stage. The Tipperary Senior Hurling Championship Final. Aaron, I'll come to you next for this. Lockmore Castleiney 222, Nina Era Og 122. Lockmore again, out of this crop of players across football and hurling. The change that they're getting out of them is absolutely unbelievable. They delivered another county title, again with the same key players that seem to always be doing the business for them, the McGrath brothers. Right at the fore. Unbelievable achievement by an unbelievable club.
Yeah, it is. Like, it is some club, in fairness. Like, back-to-back titles in Tipperary for the first time. So, an extraordinary achievement, obviously, from their perspective. Yeah, like, the first half was very even, really. There wasn't much between both teams. It was kind of back and forth, really. Like, Nina got a couple of points from the likes of Jake Morris. Mikey Heffernan was very impressive. And, like, there was only, 1 or 2 points in at half time, but it was really at the start of the second half where Lockmore kind of took over. Like, John McGrath gets a goal. Finishes the day scoring 1-5. So again, like another incredible performance from a John McGrath perspective. Like what a year he's had, by the way. And you're talking about sports personalities of the year and everything else. I think John McGrath has to get in the conversation, in my opinion. Like absolutely incredible stuff from him. Liam McGrath gets a goal as well, and just kind of knocked the stuffing out of Nina Rogue. I know they got one in between from Mikey Heffernan, but towards the end, really, it was comfortable enough. A couple of late points from the likes of Jake Morris and Mikey Heffernan, who was outstanding in his own right, like 1-7. But yeah, massive result from a Lockmore, Castellini perspective. Noel McGrath with 2 points as well. So incredible kind of stuff from them. Lee McGrath with 1-3. So many McGraths in Lockmore. They really do kind of rule the roost there, don't they? But Kieran McCormick played well as well. 3 points from him. And yeah, I think Nina Arrow probably did show. Like I think Lockmore just had a bit more kind of experience kind of going down the home stretch to kind of navigate that game. It felt like when the goals started going in from Lockmore, I think Nina Arrow just looked a little bit kind of stunned, and it took them a while kind of to kind of get back in their groove and everything else. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I agree with Peter's comment there as well. Like Lockmore could be dark horses. Because, like Lockmore play, I think Aero from Clare, if they win that, they then get into the final. Look, Aero have got some brilliant players as well. But I think for Lockmore, this will be the big one now, really. Like they've won a couple of Tipperary titles. I think they might have won Munster in the past, maybe 10, 15 years ago or something like that, if my memory serves me right. But this is the big one kind of now. Can they go and push for Munster? Can they get over the line in Munster? Obviously, there will be big teams there. Whoever they play in the final, whether it's Ballygunner or whether it's SARS and the Piershig, it's going to be tough. There's no question about that. But how can they kind of push on even that bit more now? Because I know that's what them players like John McGrath, Noel McGrath, that's what they'll want now. They'll be eyeing up that All Ireland. So, but yeah, incredible result really, and yeah, just incredible club.
Incredible club, but it's interesting enough, lads, it's the last one left, really. If you're talking from a hurling perspective, like for the McGrath brothers, it's the jewel that's missing from the crown. Is that going and winning a Munster, going and winning an All Ireland Club Championship. They've won everything else. That's the last one, and there's no doubt about it. While the success continues for now, that window will close eventually. So they have to capitalise on the here and now, and there's no doubt about it going forward in the championship. They will be a difficult force to stop, no question about it. We will move to Roscommon, and I do apologise. We're going to do Roscommon and Tyrone back-to-back, and I apologise to GA Falab, I apologise to Gavin O'Reilly, keeping you waiting so long. We're going to move to these games now, and hopefully you're still with us, and hopefully you're still watching. But let's jump into the Roscommon Senior Football Championship final. And I'm going to go to Liam for this. Liam, you obviously picked Pádraig Pearses to win the Connacht Championship. Was your heart in your mouth looking at this one? St. Bridget's and Pearses going to the wire, and a replay will be needed to separate them.
Well, shout out first of all to Kevin Egan on doing the commentary for Clubber. Absolutely unbelievable. Great pal of mine doing the commentary for them. And we have great banter with each other at all the Athlone Town women's games and all the Offaly games as well. So shout out to him, did a great job. But yeah, look, I was watching the first half, and then look, the Kilkenny final was on, the Offaly final was on, so I was only kind of half keeping up with it. But I'll be honest, when I saw St. Bridget's got the goal to make it 1-12 to 11 points, I thought, right, that's it. There's my prediction gone, and I'm going to look like a donkey once again. And Aaron's going to have one up on me here. But then I check at 60 minutes gone, and I just get this burst of excitement on the couch, seeing that Pádraig Pearses are gone in front, and I'm like, what is after happening? But of course, my day had to be ruined by Bridges coming up with a late equaliser to steal my thunder. But no, look, and it just shows how far, well, I wouldn't say how far out, but it just shows that these two sides are the best side in Roscommon, and there's no question about that. It was a great final, to be fair, 115 each at this time of the year as well, with the weather that was there today is absolutely unbelievable. But look, you got to give credit to both sides. Bridges were absolutely unbelievable in the first half. I kind of figured they had the wind in the first half with some of the scores that they were kicking from distance. You had Ben O'Carroll, who was on fire in the first half, Brian Stack, Eddie Nolan, Rory Fallon. They were really, really on fire for Bridges in the first half. They led 11-5. Pearses fought back fairly quickly in the second half. That's kind of where my hope started to come back a bit, that they brought it back to 11 points to 12. But then the goal that came from Robbie Dolan, it started making me think, right, okay, this is going to be a lot more difficult for Pearses to come back into. But then, they edged ahead with They edged ahead thanks to Adam McGreal's goal, which about 10 minutes ago, I believe it was. And then they got a fine. There was a great 2-pointer by Ronan Daly, and it looked like they had it. They looked like they had it won. I thought Declan Kenny, I thought I was going to be buying him pints for the winter, but unfortunately, from my perspective, Paul Carey, it's free in the last minute, went wide, and unfortunately, they have to go to a replay, which I thought it's a bit harsh, considering that it'll be a quick turnaround for them to go straight into Connacht. I thought maybe they could have played extra time, but look, that's like we keep mentioning, it's always different. It's different for each championship, and it's always difficult to know which is the best way to go just at this time of the year. But yeah, cracking final. And yeah, both me and Aaron's prediction lives on another day.
Absolutely. Gavin is pointing that out there. He says, insane game. Both Aaron and Liam's predictions still alive. They're alive for one more weekend only. Pádraig Lennon says it was a tale of two halves. The wind played havoc. It absolutely did. Gavin says like they both could have won it in the end. Bridges had a free but messed it up, and so did Pearce's straight after, and they also missed their one. It's one of those where I think they'll both be sitting there thinking we could have won that, but then when they sit down and get over the initial emotion, they could also think, yeah, we could also have lost it. So maybe they take the replay and a chance to do it all again. But interestingly, do you think it might impact them badly going into the Connacht Championship? Would you rather have gone through, let's say, for example, that Ballina and Westport hadn't have gone to a replay. Let's say, for example, they'd gone to extra time and penalties and Ballina had come out last week. Do you think that Ballina would have the advantage over maybe playing against Pearce's or Bridges, whoever comes out of the championship? Because Pearce's and Bridges now are going to have to go through the ringer again. Whoever comes out of this is going to have a few cuts and bruises, a few injuries, everything like that. Who do you think holds the advantage? Because yes, they will have them, but they'll also be one game stronger. They'll have a hell of a lot of more of a test than the Mayo champions will, in my opinion, against North London Shamrocks. So who holds the ace card going into that game potentially between the two sides? Because I think they look destined to meet.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, all right. Like I suppose with Ballina, like they went to a replay themselves, didn't they, with Westport? So they kind of did get that extra game in themselves. I think having that game first of all against North London Shamrocks, like look, obviously London clubs in the past have caused surprises. Ballina shouldn't sleep on that game, to be honest with you. It's not going to be a foregone conclusion. Those games can be very tricky. So Ballina, like provided they do come through that. And then the winner of Roscommon, do they go straight into the semis? Is it? I haven't seen the draw. They go straight and they play the winners. Yeah. So yeah, look, to be fair, there'll be a 2-week turnaround there, is what Pádraig said. So I don't think it would be too bad, to be fair. I don't think it would be a significant kind of advantage or disadvantage really. I think both sides would be probably going in on a similar kind of spectrum. Maybe we'll see Ballina having played, gotten a win under their belt in Connacht first of all, whereas the winner of Roscommon, will still be riding a high, be out celebrating and everything else. So maybe slightly benefits Ballina, but at the same time, whoever comes through Roscommon, whether it be Pearce's or Bridget's, they've been in Connacht before. They know how this works, and they've won these type of games in the past. So I don't think they'll be I don't think they'll be getting too carried away with any celebrations, whoever does come through.
Yeah, no, Pádraig and Gavin both making great points there. Ballina will have it tricky because they have to travel to the High. That has to be taken into consideration as well. And Gavin also saying, but on that point, like Roscommon were knocked out in June. Roscommon Club Championship should have been a few weeks earlier for more space for these scenarios. If they wanted to do the replay, obviously that's two really, really good points. It'd be really, really interesting. I think it's an absolute flip of a coin for who takes this in the replay. You can make the case for either side. It's going to be really, really interesting. Matthew has covered the Cork Premier Senior Football Championship final, so we're going to move to Tyrone. And what a result this was, lads. History made in Tyrone. Loch McCrory win their first ever Tyrone Senior Football Championship title, beating Trillick by 18 points to 2 goals and 11, beating them by a point. Once again, we have a new winner in the Tyrone Championship. Nobody's gone back-to-back since 2005. Their record as being the most competitive club championship speaks for itself now. But what a win for Loch McCrory. And the talent that they have, the likes of Owen McElhone. You wouldn't want to play them in the Ulster Championship. They definitely are a serious threat.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, I memean, it's an incredible kind of win from a Loch McCrory perspective, like winning it from a first time. Like, yeah, like to beat Tralee. But I know obviously that comment earlier kind of saying about me kind of mentioning about Tralee and Ergo Kieran being the better game. So I do apologise to any Loch McCrory faithfuls or anything like that. I was just looking at it more from a neutral perspective, as a non-Toronto man. But yeah, look, incredible result for Loch McCrory. Like 2 goals from Kieran Daly for Tralee. One in the first half, one at the start of the second half. And you were thinking Tralee are looking fairly strong. But no, like Loch McCrory with Owen McElhone, with Rory McCullough as well. Dug deep and some brilliant scores in there as well. Cathal Donaghy was outstanding in around the middle, scoring 5 points. And Gareth Donaghy's the man who wins it kind of at the death. So an incredible story. It very much is in line with the Tyrone Football Championship over the last couple of years. So many different winners. You can think of 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 different winners like off the top of your head that instantly go into your mind. And there's probably a few others we're not even thinking about there. So an incredible achievement for them. I think they play Kilcoo next as well, which is an interesting one because it's kind of nearly, it's similar in some ways to Ballyhale against Kilcormac in the sense that you have one team with a lot of young players, a team that, all right, Kilcormac, to be fair, have won 3 in a row in Offaly and have played in Leinster, so they have a bit of experience there. But, Kilcoo, much like Ballyhale, have the way of winning these games. They've won these games. They know how to kind of get through these matches. But it's one of them things. Can Loch McCrory upset the odds a little bit? I don't think it's impossible, to be honest with you. I think Kilcoo, I know what they did last year, but I think they are beatable, to be honest with you. I don't think they're, I think that we've seen in the last couple of years you can get at them. And I think there could potentially be a shock on the cards there, possibly. But look, we'll cover that obviously when it comes around. But yeah, incredible achievement from their perspective, and yeah, some celebrations are ongoing, I'm sure, tonight.
Absolutely, and I'd say that Donaghy won't have to buy a pint for the rest of his life in Loch McCrory after the winner. Absolutely sensational stuff. And going into that game against Kilcoo, I give them a great chance because Kilcoo definitely hold the mystique, due to their exploits in the Down Championship and the Ulster Championship and then their All-Ireland, obviously with Mickey Moran at the helm a few years ago. However, they have lost their grip on the Ulster Championship. They have been uprooted by the likes of Glen, by the likes of Ergo Kieran. Therefore, Loch McCrory have nothing to lose in this game. They can go for it, give it a lash. They've already won the Tyrone Championship. It's already been an amazing year. And they have such a young team with the likes of McCullough and McElhone that if they lose this game, nobody's saying, all right, that's it for Loch McCrory. We expect them to come back, even with how competitive the Tyrone Championship is. So they got nothing to lose. They go in, they give it everything they have. And I really think that they can turn Kilcoo over because we've seen Kilcoo be beat now in the Ulster Championship. They were a little bit ropey up until the Down final. Like they were, that's one thing that will get forgotten about, but they did, try their luck in the Down Championship. I fancy that if the conditions are right, that Loch McCrory might be able to beat them. Now, we have seen last season, Scottstown were fancied to go and beat Kilcoo. Kilcoo blew them out of the water. So there is still bite in Kilcoo, no question about it. But I just think Loch McCrory could actually have enough to beat them. It'd be really, really interesting to see how it unfolds. Loch McCrory's coach is former Donegal coach Luke Barrett. Very interesting. Gavin says, that's a deadly game. Kilcoo could get ambushed. The Cavan champions nearly bet them last year in Ulster as well. Just with an eye on the time, I am going to speed it up. So, Liam, I'm going to give you the next game, which is the Armagh Senior Football Championship Final. Madden beating St. Pat's Cúilín by 20 points to 9. When we were previewing this game, I tipped it to Madden, but by God, I didn't think it was going to be by 11 points.
No, certainly not. No, it's a bit of a mad scoreline, to be honest with you, to be reading it that way. Just to even give a quick thought on the previous game that we were talking about, for me, Owen McElhone is going to be the best footballer in the country for the next 10, 11, 12 years, or especially Tyrone's best footballer. I think he's unbelievable.
Holy shit.
I think he's very, very talented, to be honest with you. I'm just putting it out there. I think he's unbelievable, but I'll digress. Anyways,
David Clifford has left the chat.
Huh?
David Clifford has left the chat.
Oh, I forgot about him. No, I think he's going to be unbelievable. He's going to be the best footballer in Ulster. I'll leave it at that. But in terms of this game, yeah, an unbelievable win for Madden. 20 points to 9 is an annihilation in a football final. That is unbelievable. And yeah, look, despite Cúilíne's history of dramatic comebacks, there was no repeat of that this time. Madden's midfield, from what I've read, was very, very dominant. They were tactically disciplined, and they were very, very sharp shooting as well. Darren McMullen and Conor Grimley finished with 8 points. They were absolutely unbelievable. Cúilín, they started the second half kind of brightly enough, but Madden weathered the storm, and it was just an unbelievable performance from them overall. To win it in this fashion is absolutely fantastic. I'm delighted for them. It's nice to see a new team emerging out of Armagh. Look, we know the history of Crossmaglen Rangers and what they've done for Armagh football and just football in general over the last number of years. But it's nice to see a new team emerging out of them. And look, absolutely, you wouldn't be writing them off in terms of going after an Ulster title either. It's a very, very open Ulster championship, and any team that comes out of Armagh is going to be a tough side. So yeah, look, congratulations to Madden. Fair play to them. It's a tough day for Cúilín, but I've no doubt they'll be back again next year.
Yeah, no, they certainly will be. Looking at it, Jesus, that's how we let ourselves get here. I think that's fully my fault, given I'm presenting this episode, but we still have a lot of games to get through. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start doubling up on the games. So Aaron, I'm going to give you the following two games. The Wexford Senior Hurling Championship Final, which saw St. Martin's beat Rathnure St. Anne's by 2-14 to 16 points. And the Monaghan Senior Football Championship Final, which saw Scottstown edge out Inniskeen by 22 points to 17 after extra time. Big wins there, St. Martin's and Scottstown remaining the champions of their respective counties.
Yeah, 100%. Big result, obviously, from a St. Martin's perspective. I think they win the Wexford Championship last year as well.
Yeah.
And they have kind of been fairly dominant from a Wexford perspective. Like, just looking at it, kind of flicking through Scorpio, seemed kind of even enough probably in the first half, but it feels like towards the end of the game, really, that's kind of when St. Martin's really kind of pulled away. A goal from Barry O'Connor. Mike Coleman obviously gets one, kind of 20 minutes from the end. Big results from a St. Martin's perspective to get over the line and win that game. Jack O'Connor with 5 points as well. And I do agree with what Liam was saying as well. I think going up against Nafina at home as well, that's Nafina will be massive favourites for that game. There's no question about that. And I feel like with Nafina, it's one of them where, as we've mentioned previously, if you get them in the kind of earlier rounds, because they might click into gear and even find another level to go up on by the time a Leinster final comes around, that way. So that's going to be very interesting to see. And then, from a Scottstown perspective against Inniskeen, this was an interesting one. It finishes a 5-point win for Scottstown, but it actually went to extra time. So there was nearly an almighty shock here towards the end of the game. Scottstown with a couple of points towards the end, just about kind of dragging them to extra time with points from Conor McCarthy and Shane Carey. So kind of incredible stuff to see there. And in the end, Scottstown kind of pull away in extra time. Couple of big 2-pointers from the likes of Conor McCarthy as well. So almost a shock on the cards, but maybe a shock kind of avoided in this one. Jack McCarron with 4 points, Shane Carey with 4 as well, Tommy Mallon with 7, Rory Began himself scoring 2 points as well. So huge perspective, huge win from a Scottstown point of view. And they're another team as well that are in the conversation for Ulster. I know, as we said, what happened to them against Kilcoo last year, but they're going to be in the conversation this year. There's no question.
Yeah, definitely. And the addition of Jack McCarron a couple of years ago gave them that outlet up front that they had been lacking for a few years. Peter coming in with a very, very interesting take here. I fancy Martins to take Nafina. Obviously, Nafina shaded a very close contest against Martins in Parnell Park last year. I wonder, are Martins lining that one up in their brain and keeping it fresh and saying that they need to settle the score? It'll be really, really interesting to see how it plays out. Liam, your 2 games, 2 Leinster games, 2 county finals. The Westmeath Senior Football Championship final saw the Downs beat Coralstown Kinnegad by 4-12 to 115, while in Louth, Dave Morchine beat Newtown Blues by a goal and 18 to a goal and 11.
Yeah, the Downs came into this final as favourites, and it's understandable why. They've been absolutely unbelievable throughout the Westmeath Championship this season. I gave Coruscant Kinnegad a chance. I think they're a very, very good side. They're coached really, really well by Jack Cooney. And it would have been nice to have seen them ending their wait for a title. I think in 1996, the last time they won the title. And unfortunately for them, the wait is going on, which is unfortunate for them. But listen, they can still take pride out of the season. And they never gave up either. They were down kind of badly enough in the game. They were a goal and 8 to 2 points down at one stage, and they were 1-9 to 1-3 down at the break. And they really didn't see themselves coming back into it too much. But listen, great credit to them. They pulled it back. And, with a couple of minutes ago, it was 3-12 to 1-15, nothing in it at that stage. But then Jonathan Lynham, I should say. Jordan Lynham is one of my good friends in Tullamore. Jonathan Lynham, his late goal sealed the win for the Downs. And yeah, it's their first title since 2022. They got to the Leinster final 3 years ago. They have to face Tullamore now, who we'll get onto in a minute, in the Leinster quarter final in Mullingar, which would be a tasty enough encounter. And if they were to get over that, then, they'd be welcoming the winners of Ballyboden, St. Enda's, and I think, is it the Wicklow champions they face or someone like that? I'm not quite sure off the top of my head at the moment, but you'd imagine it'd probably be Ballyboden. And Jesus, you'd fancy them against them. When you've got players in your team like Luke Loughlin and Dean Egerton and Jonathan Lynham, you've got an absolutely great chance. So look, commiserations to Coruscant Kinnegad. They're a good, really, really good team, but their wait goes on for the title once again. But for the Downs, it's an 11th Westmeath title, so congratulations to them. And in terms of Loud, Nave Martin beating Newtown Blues 118 to a goal and 11. Probably not as close maybe as you'd have hoped. It seems like, judging here by Scorpio as well, that kind of a few minutes into the second half, especially by the 45th minute of the game, that it was pretty much game settled from their perspective. I mean, when you have Sam Mulroy in your team who's finishing with a goal and 4 points, and Tom Gray who finished with 4 points at full forward, you're going to go a long way. So big win for Nave Martins, big win for them. And again, look, we saw it last year, St. Mary's RD getting to the Leinster final from a Loud perspective, and obviously Loud won the Leinster Championship this year, so Loud football is in a really good place. And it's a very wide open Leinster football championship, much like the Hurling, in my opinion, I think, and an Ulster football championship. So I think we're in for a very, very interesting provincial championship in Leinster football.
And I'm going to bat it back to you for one more, because I didn't scroll down that extra little centimetre, which is a clue that we're coming up on an hour and a half. But the Offaly Senior Football Championship final was right below those two. Tullamore, 19 points for Ban 112. Coming into the game, we knew it was going to be tight. Tullamore shaded a late comeback, and they snatched it away from Furban right at the death.
Yeah, they really shouldn't have, to be honest with you. My heart goes out to Furban, really. They got a goal. Dara Flynn got a big goal with a couple of minutes to go, and I literally thought that was the end of Tullamore. I thought that was the title for Furban, their first title in 6 years. I thought they were going to do it, but then cometh the hour, cometh the man. Harry Plunkett coming up with a couple of 2-pointers in the last couple of minutes. I think, did he get 3 or he got 2 anyways? I can't remember if he got 3 or 2, but he got a couple of them towards the end. And despite Furban pressing to get a goal towards the end, David Nally was pushing, Cian Johnson was pushing, Oisín Kelly, just everyone was going for a goal to try and salvage a win or salvage a draw. And unfortunately for them, it just didn't come off. But look, you got to give great credit to Tullamore. They just know how to get over the line in these games. And it's their first time since 1926 that they've done 3 in a row in Offaly. It's an unbelievable achievement from them. And look, they'll have no fear going up against the Downs either. They got the hoodoo of not winning a Leinster Championship game since 1977 off their backs last year, and put up a great fight to Cúilín in the semi-final. And look, they'll go into the Downs game with absolutely no fear. When you have players like, the 2 Plunkets, Harry and Luke, when you have Killian Burke, you've Cormac Egan, you've Mike and Dan Fox in your team, John Furlong, all these types of players, then you'll be confident going into any sort of game. Niall Furlong, who had an outstanding game today in around the half-forward line midfield. So, look, congratulations to Tullamore, commiserations to Furban. It's another tough defeat for them. How a lot of those players are still going at this time of the year with the hurling they've done with Belmont this year as well, I just don't know. They're a credit to their club and everybody. But Tullamore to Downs in a quarter-final, going to be an interesting watch.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, your final 2 is the Sligo Senior Football Championship final replay. And interestingly enough, shockingly, all 4 semi-finalists now are gone from last year. Cúilín Strandhill beaten and fairly handy by the looks of things by Shamrock Gales, 2-11 to 8 points. Obviously, Gavin was talking earlier about how poor the first half was and how low scoring the first half was. But in the second half, Shamrock Gales pulled away for a 9-point win over Cúilín Strandhill. Really, really interesting to see there. while then the Down Senior Hurling Championship final, St. Pat's Portaferry beat Ballygalget by 224 to 213. So they now insert themselves into the final four in Ulster alongside the likes of Slough-Neil and, of course, St. John's and the Donegal champions too, which has slipped my mind. I do apologise because we are creeping up on
Satanta, I think.
What?
Satanta, I think.
Satanta, yeah, you're right. But the Down Senior Hurling Championship, St. Pat's Portaferry enter into that final four in Ulster. And you look at last season, how close they pushed Slough-Neil. I was really, really impressed with them. You know, beating Ballygalget by 11 points in the county final. I mean, obviously they mean business.
Yeah, 100%. Huge win from their perspective. But yeah, taking it back to Shamrock Ales and Cúilín Strand Hill, kind of first of all. Yeah, it was crazy. Like 2 points apiece at half time. You'd wonder what on earth was going on there. Like, I'd love to hear from any fans who were maybe at that game. Was it conditions or what was it? Do you know, like, even looking at it as well, like only 2 points scored by Cúilín Strand Hill until the 47th minute, when Noel Murphy scored a 2-pointer, and like even their next one after that was in injury time.
So it was a 2-pointer.
Yeah. So like, bizarre, like technically looking at it here, they had 4 scores in the opening. You know, they had 5 scores in the entirety of the game because Noel Murphy scored 3 2-pointers. You know, like, so like absolutely bizarre kind of stuff there. Yeah, 2 points apiece at half time. Was it conditions on the West? I don't really know. I'd love to know from you know, from those kind of fans' perspective. But yeah, like when you factor in as well, like Cúilín Strand Hill, not only what they achieved last year, but they were 5 points up in injury time. I know we mentioned it previously before in the first game, and obviously that kind of went away and went the other way. So incredible stuff. Look, from a Shamrock Ales perspective, you know, David Quinn, who was the hero of the last day with the late penalty, scored 3 points. Shane Dignan as well with 2-3. I'm not too sure in terms of Shamrock Ales. Is this their first county title, or certainly their first one in a long time anyway? But it looks of things there. So extraordinary achievement from their perspective. And yeah, all 4 semi-finalists from last year all gone. So yeah, extraordinary kind of stuff there. And then yeah, in terms of the Down final, big win for St. Pat's, as we were saying as well, 224 to 213 for Portaferry. And yeah, as we've seen in recent years, they have been fairly dominant in Down, and have kind of come quite close as well in a few different finals as well, or you know, come quite close in Ulster. So big win for them. Cathal Coleman with 1-8 there. Owen Sands with a goal. Noel Fitzsimons with 6 points as well. And from looking at it there, looked fairly comfortable from what I can see from looking at a report here. So yeah, big win for them.
Absolutely, and just keep harping back to that game against Slough-Neil, but that was a battle in that Ulster final, and you know, Portaferry would have been every bit worthy to go through to the All-Ireland semi-finals that day. So be really interesting to see if they can go one step further. Peter has departed the pod. He says, great review, lads. Thanks a million. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend. See you Thursday evening. We will be there, Peter, and we'll be buzzing to have you back with us again. The final county final then from the weekend has produced arguably the biggest shock, Liam. Unbelievable results here. Athenry beating Sarsfields. The All-Ireland Camogie champions are no more. They don't get out of Galway this time. What a win for Athenry.
And another prediction gone. I'm getting sick of these predictions going. I'm not going to lie to you. But
bankers just don't come true.
Yeah, how many of you got left? I feel like you've had most predictions.
I know.
Not rub it in. But
I feel like I'm at a poker table, and every time I have like an ace king, I fucking lose. And then anytime I have like a 7 and a 6, I win. It's like anytime I'm like not 100% sure.
We're probably all gonna get it wrong.
Yeah, because I was 100% sure about Errigal that they'd at least come through Ulster. Don't even get it.
Once KK wins Leinster, I don't give a shite. But still, at the same time, like, do you know what it is? Joking aside, great credit to Athenry. It's their first title since 2009, and you can't be anything but happy for them to win this game by 3 points. Sabina Rabbit getting 6 points. There was also 2 goals by Emer Keane, and yeah, look, it's an unbelievable win for them to take down Sarsfields. They nearly did it last year. I think it was extra time that they lost to them last year in the semi-finals. So yeah, look, it's an unbelievable win for them. Congratulations to them. And yeah, you know, if you're taking down a team like Sarsfields, then you're really blowing the entire Camogie Championship wide open after that. Because we were there saying that we felt maybe the only team that could maybe catch them could be a Dixborough maybe, or there could be a few other teams as well. Vincent, I think you'd mentioned as well. But yeah, look, you've heard of Sarsfields as well, who won 11 points to no score remarkably against Clan Morris, and there was only 2 players that scored in that game as well, which is even more remarkable, just to give that a quick mention. But yeah, no, unbelievable win for Athenry. Congratulations to them. I'm sure there'll be some drinking done there this evening, and the field of Athenry will be sung majestically for the rest of the week. But yeah, look, it's a big shock in the Camogie Championship.
It absolutely is. And the thing is as well, you know, what's the sweetest way to win a championship is to beat the best team. And there's no doubt about it. Sarsfields have been an ever-present at the All-Ireland stage for the Camogie Championship. Whenever they're not winning them, they're there. Right? They're always kind of sniffing around the All-Ireland. They've been ever-present. To beat them, there's no question about it. You're the best team in Galway now. And that the confidence that will give them going forward is unbelievable. They've shook up the Camogie Championship. It'll be really, really interesting to see how the rest of it plays out now. And that's the county finals covered. So just running through the rest of the results from Sunday. You can start to deflate, lads, because we're on the home stretch now. But looking at the rest of the games, the Waterford Senior Football Championship second semi-final of the weekend saw Rathgormack beat Abbeyside by 115 to 114. The second quarter-final of the weekend from Limerick saw Mungret St. Paul's beat Monaleen by 112 to 110. Ulster Junior preliminary quarter-final saw Munster Connacht of Cavan beat Ardglass of Down by 619 to 110 in a bit of a mad scoreline. The Munster Senior Camogie quarter-finals, Thurles Sarsfield sending out a bit of a statement here with their defence. 11 points to no score. They beat Clan Morris of Kerry. Newcastle West of Limerick then beat Aina Kilnamona of Clare by 110 to 9 points. The Leinster Senior LGFA quarter-final saw Dunshaughlin of Meath beat Ballynamere of Offaly by 5-12 to 210. Milltown of Westmeath beating St. Lawrence's of Kildare by 1-7 to 6. Tinnahealy of Wicklow beating Old Leckland of Carlow by 2-5 to 1-7, while Kilmacud Crokes put a bit of a beating on Portlaoise 3-15 to 5 points. Munster Senior LGFA semi-final, the second one of the weekend, saw Southern Gales of Kerry beating Brian Barrows of Tipperary by 2-10 to 3 points. The Munster Senior B LGFA semi-finals saw Glanmire of Cork beat Nagale of Kerry by 6-15 to 4 points. Kilmurray Ibrakin of Clare beat Ballymacarbry of Waterford by 4-8 to 6 points. The Munster Intermediate LGFA semi-finals, Nave Aubin of Cork beat Moycarkey Boris of Tipperary by 2-15 to 2-9. Connacht Intermediate LGFA semi-final on the Sunday saw St. Barry's of Roscommon beat Coolare Strandhill of Sligo by 1-9 to 6 points. In the Connacht Intermediate LGFA quarter-final saw Clare Morris of Mayo beat Drumkerrin of Leitrim by 3-18 to a goal and 3. Unbelievably, we have more in the comments. How on earth does Matthew do this, lads? The last one, Ulster Intermediate LGFA quarter-final saw St. Bridget O'Neill's of Monaghan beat Irehan of Tyrone by 5-10 to 1-9. Owen Rua of Derry beat Clonagile of Armagh by 1-6 to 8 points. Knockbride of Cavan beat Fanad of Donegal by 1-8 to 4. Lisnackey Emmets of Fermanagh beat Con McGee's of Armagh by 3-14 to 3-6. While one more Ulster Junior LGFA quarter-final saw Drumra Sarsfields beat Devonish St. Mary's by 1-9 to 2 points. Victory there for the Tyrone side. And that is it for another weekend review show. As Peter plugged earlier in the comments, we will be back on Thursday with another weekend preview show ahead of some more club championship action next weekend, which we cannot wait for. That episode will be live at 8 p.m. We hope to see you all there. Thank you so much to anybody who tuned in over the course of the episode. Thank you especially to anybody who dropped the comment and got involved in the discussion, helped to make it a really, really enjoyable episode. That's another one in the books. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend. And until Thursday's episode, Torah.
Instinct.